All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. The guest on this episode is someone who's been on the show before, but the last time you were on the show was one of the rare occasions where everything completely went wrong. We had this great interview with two members of your band, and then something happened to the file, it got corrupted or something. But I've got backups and backups and backups going on here, so we're not going to lose it this time. But
Excellent.
I think the best way to start this off is if you want to just introduce yourself and give a bit of background about what it is you do with your band, because it's been a while since we talked about it, and I know you have some new things happening.
Sure. Yeah. I'm Matt. I play bass and sing in Mouthfeel. Yeah, and we're just getting ready to release our second album now. July 15th is the release show. Hopefully we'll have it done by then. That's the plan, at least. We kind of went fully DIY for this one. So it takes a lot longer than you think. And we're just kind of, we're all four guys in our 30s. So we're just kind of chipping away at things and doing things when we can. And it's gonna be done eventually, and we're pretty excited for it. We had our first album ready to go, and then a week before the release show, the pandemic hit. So that was kind of put a grinding halt to, not just our small little band, but pretty much everything. So yeah.
Was there kind of like nerves about doing this next one because the pandemic was still, it's still happening, but I imagine when you started working on this one, things were still fairly shut down, right? Like, were you concerned that it was going to happen again and you'd be sort of stuck in this?
Of course. Yeah, it's like an infinite loop. It seems like, we got some momentum going, and then, another round of restrictions comes out, and I work in the healthcare field, so I understand where they're coming from. I just don't think our government was, anyway, I don't want to get political, but I think things could have been handled a little differently that maybe would have given us a better outcome. But this is a music show and no one wants to hear what I think about politics right now. So anyway, cool. It was nerve-wracking, and it was like I said, we get momentum going and things would shut down, and we'd play a couple shows and then there'd be no shows for months. We haven't played since November now, so just trying to get back in the swing of things pretty much.
Yeah. Well, how did you even manage to keep it together as a band over all this? Because it's not like you had this extensive history beforehand, right? A lot of bands have been around for 10, 15 years. This is just kind of a blip in their careers as musicians. But for you guys, like you said, you had this first record ready to go, and then pandemic hits. Was it hard to keep the momentum going, to even want to do this, knowing what was going on around the world and not really having a clear idea of whether shows would happen again or anything like that?
Yeah, I think for me personally, this is just something that I do just for the love of it. Like, it's something that I have, like, I'll take my dog for a walk and a melody will pop in my head and I'll build a song out of it. And I have fun jamming with my friends, and that's kind of the thing. Like, we all bring our ideas in and we work on them. So that was what kept me motivated, was like, regardless of playing a show or not, it's just fun to create with your friends and just having these moments where we kind of build each other's songs and just work together on things. And it's a social thing, because I'm not alone in this, but during the pandemic, a lot of our social lives were kind of uprooted and flipped upside down. So this kind of, through our group chat and stuff, I'd come up with a riff and a melody and we'd send it and everyone would kind of throw their 2 cents in, and it really kept us together. And we had been doing the band for about 3 years before we put our first album out. We just kind of, we're not teenagers anymore, so we don't have as much free time. So things happen a lot slower than they would have. So we are fairly established, and I think we all like each other. We're all friends, so it's just something that we do for the fun of it, really.
Yeah. Do you think that comes through on the new record? The idea that this is something that, because I think it comes through on the first one, like the idea that this is just like a fun thing and you guys are just enjoying it for what it is rather than, trying to become rock stars or whatever. Like, it has that kind of loose vibe to it. And not loose in a bad way. Like, the songs are tight and everything, but you know what I mean? Just that kind of like almost like a casual feel to it, right?
Yeah. I hope so. I hope that's kind of the vibe we've always kind of had amongst ourselves, and that's the vibe, I guess, that we try and put out, is like, we're not here to be the biggest band in the world or anything like that. It's way beyond our our expectations is make some songs, have fun, put them out, hopefully people like them, play some shows. And I think it comes through. I'm the worst at like judging my own band's music. I couldn't even tell you what bands we sound like. I leave that up to other people. Yeah.
Well, that I don't know if that affects my next question I was going to ask you, but I was going to ask you like how things changed, I guess, sonically from one album to the next, because if people have heard you, they've probably heard the first record, and a lot of this stuff's going to be new to them because you haven't been able to play shows, right? So a lot of this material, I'm assuming, hasn't really been heard by a lot of the audience. So what would you say is the main difference as far as the sound goes from one to the next?
Well, our drummer, like I think on this song, there's a little bit more contribution from every member. Our drummer wrote 2 songs, or other guitarists wrote 1, or other guitarists, the rhythm guitarist wrote 2, and then I threw some lyrics on here and there, and our drummer threw some lyrics on Jeff. So like, I feel like it's more of a collaborative effort. I know the songs that I ended up coming up with for this album are very like straight ahead, kind of more pop punk. I don't know. Pop punk has such a negative connotation.
It has a stigma, right?
Like
yeah.
Like I don't think we're like a mid 2000s pop punk band or anything like that, but I feel like it's just it's more of a collaborative effort, I feel. So the songs probably will sound a little different to people. Those other songs that we recorded, we had been playing them for about 3 years, like I said, at the point that we actually recorded them. So we were already over them by the time we recorded it. And now the same thing has happened with this album. We're kind of done with these songs and moving on to new ones already. So
but you have to play these songs now, right? Now that shows can happen. Now that shows are actually a possibility. You have to do these ones because the record's coming out, right?
No matter how sick of them we are, we have to play them a few times to show people what they're all.
Yeah.
So that's the way it is in a band. I mean, it's you work on something and you feel like it should take you like a weekend to get this all taken care of, but the logistics just obviously it takes way longer than that. And with the world the way it is these days, things are just dragged way out. So we still like them, but we just would rather play other ones.
Well, I don't think that's a bad attitude to have either. I think the idea that you're constantly making new stuff and that you're presumably improving on the sound and honing it and working better together collaboratively and all this stuff. I mean that's a positive, right? The idea that you want to leave the old stuff in the past and keep moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's like the goal of any band is, as much as their fans might not like it. Not saying I don't know if we have fans or not, but like people who like our band, if they don't like this album, well, whatever, they might like the next one. But we like these songs and we worked hard on them, and that's who we do it for. We do it for ourselves. We're selfish about that for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, like you said before, you're not teenagers anymore, right? You're in a place in your lives where you have, I'm sure families and careers and all this stuff that means you can't. The idea of, well, we're gonna make it, we're gonna get a big hit or whatever. That's not even part of it, right? You're doing it because you love doing it, and like you said, the camaraderie aspect of it, and just being able to be creative, like with your friends.
Yeah, that's 100% it. Yeah, it's just a joke amongst ourselves that we're never gonna make it. Someone's late to practice, so we're not gonna make it. It's just a long running inside joke that I'm sure every band kind of has amongst themselves.
Yeah,
unless they're really serious about it, and then I kind of feel sorry for them because that can't be that much fun.
Does that relieve some of the pressure on kind of writing the songs, just knowing that you're doing it for yourselves, and it really doesn't matter. You can do what you want to do, and you can do it how you want to do it without having to worry about anyone else's sort of opinions on it. Is that like freeing a little bit?
I think so. Yeah, I think it definitely is. There's some songs on this record that I wrote that maybe in bands that I used to play in, I would have just never even pursued, like would have came up with the riff and just had in my room and thought, no, that's no good. Or, I think that I had a very, as you grow older, your horizons hopefully broaden a little bit, and you kind of take in more influences and you see the value in different styles. And I feel like that kind of, especially like you said, in our situation now where we're just like totally selfish about everything we do. We just, if we like it, then that's all that really matters.
Has has that resulted in other stuff? Like you were just saying, different styles. Has that resulted in other kinds of music kind of seeping in and sort of making themselves heard, whether it's on purpose or not, in the overall sound?
I think it probably has without unintentionally, I
Yeah,
think it
yeah.
just happens as we're writing songs. Like, I'm not saying like we're like making up these crazy soundscapes and we're like going outside the realms of what people think is possible with music and all that. Like,
You're
no,
writing punk songs. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, we're writing punk songs. We're a punk band. We just do it for fun. But yeah, definitely like different influences definitely come in without you even realizing it or trying for it to happen. It's just kind of, you can't help it. The more music you listen to, the more you're influenced, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, yeah. It seeps in. You can't do anything to stop it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you mentioned earlier you haven't played a show since November. Are you hoping to get back out there? Like, do you have plans to get back out and play shows locally and hopefully get this new music, this new old music that you're already sick of to
Yeah.
people's?
Yeah, we do. We have a show booked July 15th at the old Bulldog Event Center there, and
Okay.
that's the unofficial album release party. So your mom is playing, and shit happens. You can bleep that if you have to. I don't know if
No, I don't need to do it. Yeah,
I've
it's
seen
cool.
you on Shaw, Sam. So I don't know if they let you swear on Shaw. So and the Strange Things are also opening. So we got 4 bands there. Show starting at 9, $10, and you get a free download code when you come in for the new album. So
Cool.
yeah, we're hoping to get that show out of the way and then see what else happens. We're always kind of looking, and we don't want to be one of those bands that plays every weekend, but we don't want to be the band that plays every 6 months either.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. Those bands you mentioned that are playing with you at that show, is that sort of the like sub scene of the local music scene you see yourselves fit in well with? Like some of those bands kind of play together often, and
Yeah.
at that venue as well, right? I mean, it seems like there's kind of
Yeah.
a whole little community within the larger punk scene. Is that sort of where you feel you guys
Mhm.
fit in?
I feel, yeah, like those bands have always been super gracious to us. The people in those bands always been encouraging. We played one of our first shows at the Park Theater. We were opening for some band from out of town, and Corey was nice enough to put us on the bill. And it was like our second show or something. Of course, we're like nervous and like nobody's
Yeah,
there, but the other bands are there watching us, and they were there, and after our set, they were really encouraging, and we kind of felt a kinship with them where like we're all just here to have fun, and that's kind of, it's grown from there. And they've always been supportive, and so I kind of feel like that's definitely where we found our people, or whatever, as corny as that sounds.
no, but that is a thing, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, I think whatever kind of music you play, people, bands, and artists will kind of gravitate towards other people they feel some kind of connection with, right? So yeah, it's totally a thing that happens.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to eventually start playing with all sorts of different bands. I'd like to have a show with a rapper on there to start off, maybe, or just mix it up, a death metal band too, like, because I like all different kinds of music, and I'm sure I'm not the only one like that.
Yeah, of
And
course.
to go see 4 bands that sound exactly the same would be kind of gets kind of old. That's 3 hours in, and I mean, the show we're playing on the 15th, we don't sound like your mom. Your mom doesn't sound like shit happens. Nobody sounds like the Strange Things.
Right.
So that's like, we're all punk bands, but we all kind of have our own take on it. So yeah, nobody wants to hear 4 Minor Threat imitators in a row, kind of.
Right. Well, that's a good thing about punk being kind of an umbrella genre at this point too, is that there are all these different versions and different styles sort of within that you can all be punk bands, but yeah, you can sound radically different from one to the next.
Mhm. And I think people these days, I don't know what it is, but at least compared to when I was younger, I feel like when I was younger, people are very narrow-minded in the type of music that you should play,
Oh
the
yeah.
type of music you should listen to. And now I don't know if it's because I'm older or if the scene has matured, but people are just more open to all different styles now, it seems. And they're not afraid to be like nodding their head to some quieter music, some more poppier music, rather
Yeah.
than before where it just had to be Circle Pit the whole time. Nothing wrong with
Totally.
Circle Pits. Circle Pits are great. We love to see them, but yeah, it's nice to see people kind of expand their horizons a little bit, and myself included. I had the blinders on when I was 18 as well.
Me too. Yeah. Well, and I think part of it too is that people have now so much. Everything is available to them all at once, right? Whereas before,
Mhm.
you were limited to whether it's what you heard on the radio or what you could get at the local record store, and that was it, or what your friends had. But now, yeah, you have access to literally anything. You want to listen to some weird ragtime song from 1926, you can do that,
Yeah.
and then you can listen to some
Yeah.
current radio single from some pop artist 5 minutes later. So yeah, I think there's like, just people are growing up now in an era where everything is accessible to them, so there's not as much, hopefully, as much stigma on, oh, you're selling out because you're not listening to this, or you're not cool because you're not part of this scene. And ideally you'd get a generation of people listening to literally everything and anything all at once.
It kind of feels like that's where it's going, because
I hope so.
a lot of the bands we play with, they're younger than me, and I definitely see way more openness in them than I saw when I was younger,
Yeah.
among myself included, so
For
it's
sure,
really
yeah.
cool to see. It's really encouraging to see that kind of stuff.
Do you
No.
think that I mean, as I don't want to call you old guys because I think I'm either the same age or older than you, but I mean, like, do you, as old guys in the punk scene, like, do you feel like the younger audience gets what you're doing? Like, I mean, I know punk hasn't changed enough that you're going to be doing something drastically different than what they probably grew up listening to, but do you feel like there's a connection musically between people from our generation playing the stuff that inspired us, and then whatever the 20-year-olds are doing now, which is obviously going to have different sounds and different inspirations and yeah.
I feel like I feel like people, I mean, people come up after show and say, good show, you guys are good, and all this kind of stuff, and you're like, okay, yeah. But sometimes you can tell, especially when other bands come up to you and kind of say it, and they're not boring your gear. If they're boring your gear, you got to be a little suspect about their praise.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but when they're not, I mean, you can kind of tell, and you see the reaction from the crowd when you're playing, and we've usually, had good reactions, and so I feel like, yeah, people are open to all kinds of stuff now, and they're embracing all different styles, because they've grown up with bands that I listen to influence bands that they listen to, kind of thing. So it just keeps building on itself,
Yeah, it's all part of the same continuum.
Yeah, exactly.
So at this point, I mean, obviously the CD release show, the show you mentioned at the Bulldog, that's where you would ideally people could check you out. But before then, or someone might hear this 6 months later, what's the best way to find out what you guys are up to online, or hear the music that you have out whenever someone's hearing this?
If you're looking to listen to our music, it's all on Bandcamp. Mouthfeel WPG. There is another Mouthfeel. I don't know where they're from, but yeah, Mouthfeel WPG. And we're most active on Instagram. I don't really go on Facebook anymore because it was very bad for my mental health. So I just,
okay, fair enough. Yeah.
I couldn't help but look at the comment sections, and then it just kind of made me depressed. So
Yeah, I hear
I just
that.
stopped going on Facebook, and Instagram is just easier. I just scroll through and look at pictures and then tap, and it's just, it gets that, was it endorphin? I don't know what it is.
Yeah. I think that's why people are so hooked on it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Facebook was draining that for me. So I just, I try and cross post every now and then, but Bandcamp and Instagram, that's where we usually can be found.
Cool. And I assume that it's on all the regular streaming services that people use too?
Yeah, it's on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. I've uploaded, we've made a couple videos actually. Very DIY kind of, use some simple program that I downloaded and just kind of stitched a bunch of clips together. And we're on YouTube as well, so you can listen to our first album is up on YouTube. There's some live clips and the 2 videos that we've made as well.
Awesome. What's the name of the new record?
I think we're gonna call it Doubt. I think that's the name. We're leaning towards Doubt.
Right.
Yeah,
okay. So by the time it comes out, it could be something totally different. But Doubt is, at the present time, that's what you're.
It's like 98% going to be called Doubt. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
right on.
We've got the cover done and everything. So if we change it, we'll just have to change a word. But I think Doubt is the name for now. Yeah.
Okay. Right on.
Yeah.